sensitive skin, there's Fusion ProGlide. Our micro-thin blades are thinner than a surgeon's scalpel to glide effortlessly for our gentlest, most comfortable shave. Switch to Fusion ProGlide, #1 dermatologist recommended on sensitive skin. And now try new Fusion ProGlide Sensitive Shave Gel. Gillette, the best a man can get.
Welcome to another shave here on the Soap Thing Project. This is the 6th and final video in a series called The Evolution of Gillette Cartridge Razors. We started in the mid-1960s and we have progressed all the way up to today, where it's time to talk about the Gillette Fusion. But before we do that, let's recap how we got here. This razor is the Gillette Techmatic. We started the series with this razor right here. This was first introduced in 1965 or 66. I think it was 1965, and it was produced all the way up until 1971. And this was Gillette's first departure from razors that used blades like this. It was an attempt to depart from double-edge blades. It was made famous by the Apollo moon missions. Somebody in the comment section said that they read somewhere that the razor was developed just for that. One can speculate, but it's still a significant razor. It's a bit overcomplicated and over-engineered, and was something of a mess of a razor in my personal opinion, which brings us to the razor that followed this up, the Track II. This razor was made by Gillette from 1971 until about 2009. It is a non-pivoting tracked cartridge razor. It does not pivot at all, and the razor blades come off on a track just like so. This introduced the world to multi-blade razors. The philosophy of use was you would use this to shave, and it would shave your whiskers relatively close, and then rather than you having to shave again or do a second pass, the second blade would come along and quickly shave off the rest more closely. The thought process was this was supposed to make you not have to shave as long. It was meant to speed up shaving. And I think for the most part, it did that. It was a wild success for Gillette in the early 1970s and all through the 80s. This actually has a lot of overlap with subsequent razors. But yeah, this is the Gillette Track II, 1971 to about 2009. That was followed up by the Gillette Atra, 1977 until either the late 90s or the early 2000s. I seem to remember seeing this a lot in bargain bins and stuff like that at grocery stores in the late 90s. So it was still being made even then. Or at least they had some wild and crazy overstock that you wouldn't even believe. Either way, this razor introduced two significant technologies to shaving. It introduced the pivoting head. See if I can get that. There we go. It was the first pivoting head razor from Gillette. You'll notice this one does not have a lubricating strip. If I can get it to focus, it just has the Gillette logo on it. Interesting stuff. But this was the razor where we had our first lubricating strip. That would be right here. This is a later, actually I think this one's older. Either way, it's a plastic, mostly plastic razor. I think this one is 1980 and the other one is 1987. But either way, The lubricating strip first came out on Gillette razors in 1985 on the Atra, and subsequently went to the Track II and all subsequent razors. Then we move on to 1989, when we have the introduction of the Gillette Sensor. This one just happens to be a Sensor XL. The Atra with the lubricating strip was called the Atra Plus. The claim to fame for the Sensor, the thing that made the Sensor big news, if I can get this to focus, was the fact that it had dampened blades. See if I can show that to you. If you press on the blades, they are actually dampened, so they will recess away from your skin if you apply pressure to your face. The Sensor XL came along and added micro fins, which you see at the bottom right here. Those were designed to kind of tug a little bit on your skin and shave your skin even more closely. So again, we're trying to shave more comfortably, more closely, and faster. And of course, this does have a lubricating strip, as did all prior razors from the Atra and the Track II on forward. And then we move into the Mach 3, which was released in 1998 and is still being made today. This one is an older one. It's a Mach 3 Turbo from 2001. The Mach 3 introduced the third blade, which in my opinion is where Gillette started to go wrong. The blades are still dampened, so we are taking all prior technologies and moving them forward. We go from one blade to two, and then from two blades to two blades that pivot, and then to two blades that pivot with a lubricating strip, and then two blades that pivot with a lubricating strip with micro fins, and now we're up to three blades that pivot with a lubricating strip with micro fins. So the amount of technology that's being packed into a cartridge is growing bigger and bigger and bigger. The Mach 3 Turbo, what that did was added a more zealous lubricating strip and some extra oomph behind the micro fins. But yeah, this is kind of the Gillette razor that I would think most people would be familiar with. It's according to Gillette, the best-selling three-bladed razor in the world, for whatever that's worth. And that brings us to today's shave, the final razor in this journey with Gillette razors. It's the Gillette Fusion. Now, I know somebody's going to say, well, what about the Skin Guard and this, that, and the other razor? Look, the Skin Guard and Gillette's vibrating razor and their heated razor are all based off of this handle and this cartridge design. So I would say that once Gillette got to here, they pretty much stopped innovating, as far as I'm concerned. This handle is an older handle. It's from 2006. It says ProGlide on it, which is interesting. I'm guessing that has to do with something to do with the cartridge. But you'll notice now we have 5 blades. We have, as you might guess, 5 blades that pivot with a lubricating strip that are dampened with microfins. So this is, of course, the top evolution of Gillette cartridge razors. Yeah. Subsequent Fusions will actually have a side-to-side pivot. This one does not. It just pivots up and down. Side pivoting razors didn't come until later. So this is also the only razor in the entire series that I had to get a brand new cartridge. All the other ones, I suppose the Atra Plus with the lubricating strip, that's a new cartridge. But it was juxtaposed with another Atra that had a vintage, non-lubricated cartridge, so I think it kind of washed out. But the Techmatic had a vintage blade, and so did the Track II, the Atra, the Sensor, and the Mach 3. So this is the only one where I couldn't find vintage blades. I suppose with this being a 2006 razor, this is a handle from, I think, year 1 of the Fusion. It was released in 2006. I highly doubt if there would be any vintage cartridges laying around anyway. Okay, enough talking. Let's do a shave. We're going to use, for one final time, the Edge Gel for sensitive skin. And we are going to chase that with the Fathom Aftershave by Dana. Okay, let's do it. All right, folks. 36 hours growth on the face today, so about a day and a half. Let's go ahead and do the Edge Gel. This wonder goop that goes on your hand blue and lathers on white. Well, smears on. I'm probably insulting my my wet shaving subscribers. That's not lathering! Oh, shut up. Okay. Truth be told, though, I am excited to get back to shaving with safety razors and soap. This was a cool adventure, and I did some shaving with these razors. Even, well, with the exception of the Techmatic, which I used for the first time on camera, all the rest of them, I shaved with them a bit off camera before I even started the series, just to get intimately familiar with them. Okay. Now, the Fusion introduced two things that are significant. It introduced the 4th and 5th blade. This is 5 blades, of course. And it introduced on the top of the cartridge a single blade for getting your sideburns and getting up under your nose. So we will just go ahead and start with that. Now, I gotta say, this is by far and away the best razor I have ever seen for getting up under my nose. Safety razors be damned. They've got nothing on this razor right here for getting up under your nose like that. That's the best thing I can say about this, though. We'll talk about it more. Let's get started. Here we go. So I talked briefly about tugging in other shaves. This razor definitely has the most of it. It's not uncomfortable, it's not unpleasant, but it's not buttery smooth like a safety razor either. So why 5 blades? Well, if you believe their advertising, the rationale was that the 3-bladed cartridge razors, the 3 blades were spaced too far apart, and so it was causing pressure points that would cause one of the blades to dig in and draw blood. And so it was supposedly an attempt to rectify people who were getting like nicks and cuts. What was actually on their mind when they did this, I have no idea, and they're not going to tell us. So all we have to go off of is their commercials and their advertising, but that's, for the most part, what I can gather from it is it was an attempt to bring the blades closer together. I don't know why you couldn't just bring them closer together, but or just not do 3 blades. Let's just go back to 2, but that would be going backwards, and nobody's going to do that. I add a little bit of water to this. You can actually chase this with water, and it will kind of make it more rich and slimy, so to speak. All right. But to be honest with you, I think this is where a bunch of people completely checked out. And that's why we've had this resurgence of safety razor shaving with shaving soap. I'm not saying this is the whole reason, but I think for the most part, people looked at this and just said no. And that's when you saw the beginnings of the wet shaving hobby that has so many people on YouTube making videos about it. Because, you know, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, even 15 years ago, this was a new hobby. Shaving as a hobby was not a thing yet, or it was just beginning to be something that was gaining metaphorical steam. And like I said, I think it was due in part to this razor right here. Not to mention, I think for some people, 5 blades was just too much for their skin to handle. They just couldn't do it. More is not always better. Alright, let's have a rinse and see how I did. This is the razor I think, well, I was going to say I have the least experience with, but, you know, that would actually go to the Techmatic, which again I used only once on camera for a video. But I think I've used the Fusion slightly more often than like the Sensor and the Atra, because there was a while where I was using those quite a lot. Even after I started, you know, shaving with safety razors, I would occasionally grab an Atra or a Sensor and just shave with those just for the hell of it. But this was what was available at, you know, downrange when I was deployed at base exchanges and stuff like that. Half the time they didn't even have Mach 3s. They just had Fusions. Especially if you were in really austere conditions where the base exchange had minimal stuff, you were getting a Gillette Fusion, and that's what you were going to get. Okay. Fathom aftershave. I am not going to forget to use my aftershave today, because on one of the videos I completely forgot and the aftershave never made it into the video. And then the next video I almost forgot again. So, yeah. It's been quite a series, let me tell you. Alright. Love this aftershave. You can get this off of Fragrance Net. If you have a chance, go pick it up because it's good stuff. Smells great. It's got that kind of pharmacy aftershave smell. Actually, I take that back. It's probably just slightly edging into to Clubman territory. I think this would fit well, kind of categorized as a Clubman type scent as far as price and quality. Okay. My final thoughts on the Gillette Fusion. How do I feel about this thing? I don't hate this. I want to. You bet your ass I want to. But I don't. I think this gets a lot more hate than it deserves. This razor is completely unnecessary. Without a doubt it is. There's no reason why you need 5 blades. There's no reason why you need 3 blades. And part of me just wishes people would have said no to it. The Sensor, in my opinion, was perfectly good enough. And like I said before, Gillette could have retired the R&D team and went home. And they would have been just fine. Looks like I got a nick right there. Might be the first nick of the series. But no, I wish I could hate this thing more than I do. I don't like it. I don't want to use it that often. Just maybe every once in a while as a reminder of where we came from and why we left. Because as wet shavers, I think sometimes you need to remind yourself of that, what this stuff feels like. And coming out of it, what I feel like is it's not as bad as people make it sound. I hate to say that, but it isn't. It's not pleasant. Like, once you discover wet shaving with good quality shaving soap, the off-the-shelf goo in a can and a cartridge razor is never going to feel satisfying again. But I'd be lying if I said I thought it was bad. If I have to shave with this, if every single safety razor and shaving soap disappeared at the flick of a finger, I'd just be like, huh, all right, I guess I'm shaving with this crap for the rest of my life. Not going to dread it at all. I'm not going to willingly go back because I have discovered something better, but I think there's a reason why so many millions of people still do this, because I gotta break it to you folks. Safety razors are not going to dominate the market again. That is never going to happen. The cat has been let out of the bag. And now that it's out, there's no getting it back in there. So most people's face is perfectly fine to shave with this stuff for their entire life. And guess what? They're going to do that. And that's okay. But for the rest of us who have discovered something that we like more, don't ever let anybody tell you that that's not the way to shave. That's it. That's the series. That is the series of the evolution of Gillette cartridge razors. Questions, comments, put them in the comment section of the video. Otherwise, until next time, this is Soap Thing telling you, shave like you mean it. Thanks for watching.